Good morning, Professor Isabel. We are Angie Becerra, Álvarez and Angélica Salazar from Group 1, and he is Julián Andrés Parra for Group 2. And now we are going to talk about the suggested English curriculum and the basic learning rights. We are going to start with the rationale and the purpose.
Okay. The purpose, rationale, syllabi, and assessment presented here aim at giving teachers the tools to consolidate the school's English curricula that can contribute to the achievement of the learning goals establishing for the country, respecting, of course, the institutional autonomy guaranteed by the Law 115. This way, each school will have the opportunity to evaluate, modify, and adapt the structure to the needs to the particular students and the characteristics that the population of the school have.
So now we're going to continue with the structure.
Okay, and the structure has been organized by chapters based on each grade of the cycle they address to. This means that teachers will find chapters corresponding to transition, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth grade, which can be identified by colors. Within each chapter, the reader will find three core elements as the following.
So now the three elements are scope and sequence, suggested syllabus, and methodological and assessment suggestions. We are going to start with the scope and sequence. The scope and sequence in this curriculum proposal presents metrics in which teachers can notice the different elements that comprise the instructive, linguistic, and communicative provision of the curriculum structure. These provide the teacher an annual overview in which he or she can identify the suggested language level, the learning goals, the language functions, and the general objectives to be attained. Now we are going to continue with the suggested syllabus.
Okay. The suggested syllabus section demonstrates a scheme that materializes each of the principles in the suggested curriculum through the articulation of goals, objectives, standards, language functions, performance indicators, and discursive and linguistic contents. And now let's continue with the third one.
Before continuing with the third one, we're going to show an example about the performance indicators of the suggested syllabus. And it is divided into 4 categories. The first one is know, the second one do, the third one be, and the fourth one learn. In the know, students have to identify the vocabulary related to common food in his or her context. They also have to recognize words and expressions that indicate habits to be healthy. And finally, they have to identify vocabulary and expressions about possible reasons that may develop health problems. In the do part, they have to classify and name healthy and unhealthy food and drinks of his or her context. And the second one, they have to classify and name the activities that foster a good health. Then they have to participate in a short conversation about food and habits to have a healthy life. And finally, they have to make a list of food and habits to have a healthy life supported by images. In the B part, they have to promote important actions regarding the practice of good eating habits to have a healthy life. And finally, in the learn, they have to apply the 21st century skills and listen to others respectfully. And also they have to apply the learning strategies and practice the pronunciation of the new words. Now we are going to continue with the methodological and assessment suggestions,
which is the third element. Okay, the purpose of this element of the curriculum structure is to offer teachers some practical pedagogical ideas on how to implement the suggested curriculum through recommended methodology and assessment practices. which can be helpful in everyday classroom settings. Now, the methodology follows task-based and project-based learning with some elements of the CLIL approach, which in this curriculum work progressively throughout grade levels. It is, as is shown in the chart, where transition is worked as holistic development, but in first to third grade, there is based on task learning, while in fourth and fifth grade it is project-based learning.
So now we are going to see, as an example, task-based. And it is divided into three categories. The first one is pre-task, in which students have to brainstorm or seek into their prior knowledge about a topic. The second one is the task cycle, in which the students have to work individually or in groups for a communicative task. And the final is the post-task, in which students have to sum up everything that they have learned through the lesson and apply it to the final task.
Okay, in the practical material, we conclude that after analyzing the document, we could realize that these materials can be applied in our planning in as much as they have authentic activities and strategies where students can be engaged and learn real-life English while learning content. Teachers also find a series of recommendations that will give them additional ideas about different methodologies, aspects such as classroom management, inclusion, and didactic ideas, as well as the use of materials that the ministry has published for the English learning primary.
So now we're going to continue with the importance of the suggested English curriculum and basic learning rights.
Okay, we think that the importance of the basic learning rights have to do with the knowledge and skills that students must develop from transition to fifth grade. The aim of these rights is that students develop a pre-intermediate level of English by the end of their high school process. Therefore, these rights are aligned with the suggested curriculum inasmuch as both of them encompass the same goal.
Finally, we want to conclude with some reflections about how we are going to align our teaching in the practicum with the suggested English curriculum and the basic learning rights. So, as a personal opinion, the usage of the suggested English curriculum and the basic learning rights will help me organize and give a structure to my future lesson plans, since they are guides for teaching that for teaching and that specify the grade and the skills that the learners must develop in each stage of the learning process. Having that idea in mind, we can use them as fundamental tools for creating and exploring amazing materials for teaching without leaving behind the importance of the English proficiency.
Okay, in my opinion, to align the suggested English curriculum and the basic learning right, it's necessary to be aware that both documents share the same goal, which is to help students develop their knowledge about English language achieving a pre-intermediate level during high school. So, my plan is to include not only activities but also strategies suggested, such as the task, project, and problem-based in my lessons, challenging the students to improve their skills in general.
Okay, finally, as Julián says before, the texts are complemented by each other and they compile a series of recommendations and strategies about different methodological aspects. So they will surely help me to enhance the classroom management as well as the creation of ideas through the use of a special material focused on primary grades, helping the students to develop and learn their language, and helping me at the same time to developing them the strategy. Okay.